You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast. Or if you're on YouTube, welcome to the next episode of the Cricket Podcast. We've done talking about South Africa and England and T20 and one-day cricket, all the white ball stuff. And now it's over to India because, well, we had some pretty big news in the world of women's franchise cricket today. It was the revelations of the bidding, the results of the bidding for the women's franchises, and Ross is going to take us through all the exciting stuff. And we also got India, New Zealand, with the return of Shubgoat, and
it's the birth of Shubgoat. It's not the return.
It's the return if you're in our Discord.
Yeah.
That is, Shubgoat is something that is pushed quite regularly, and well, turns out they were right, I guess. But over to you, women's IPL. Take us away.
Yes. So the BCCI have finally pulled their finger out. And the broadcast and media rights for the Women's Premier League, it's not called the Women's IPL for some stupid reason. And the franchises have been auctioned and they've received a tidy sum, Max. It's £462 million is what the 5 franchise teams have gone for. The media rights went for, I think it was nearly $1 million. I think it was 700. Was it £700,000 a game? Is what's being mooted. This is there's no other way to put this, Max. This is huge news, absolutely huge. For the women's game, women's sport in general, it has got a ridiculously high ceiling because of the chronic underfunding and chronic underappreciation that's happened over the last forever. And the prices for the new franchises, I think, kind of demonstrate what's kind of at stake here, right? There's 5 franchises. You've got Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, and Lucknow. And they are, 3 of them have been picked up by existing franchises. So Mumbai Indians have got the Mumbai one, RCB have got the Bangalore one, Delhi Capitals have got the Delhi one.
Are we going to see another documentary with the Ambanis?
Oh, I hope so. I really do hope so. Ahmedabad have a team, and that's owned by the Adani Group. Fun fact about those who don't know what the Adani Group is: 60% of their revenue is derived from coal-related businesses. So,
coal-related businesses,
yeah. So, if you're a fan of the environment, then you're going to love the Ahmedabad girls.
And obviously, the Ahmedabad franchise was the one that got the top price, but we won't delve into that any further.
So it's interesting, right? So Ahmedabad as a location and the franchise there received the highest amount, around $158 million is what's been paid. Mumbai was 111 million, RCB 110, Delhi 99, and then Lucknow 93. And they're owned by Capri Global. I don't have a fun stat about them because they're
Are they the people who do Capri Sun?
No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. Missed opportunity there, or maybe an opportunity for Capri Sun to capitalise with a bit of free advertising. But they've got a stake in the Gujarat Titans. Interestingly, Capri Global. Okay. So so there's a bit of,
we can sort of say it's 4 out of 5.
Yeah, bit of crossover. For those who say this should have happened years ago, and there's probably plenty of people saying that, definitely on Twitter, maybe they are right. Maybe there should have been a women's IPL way before. But from a business perspective, a cold, hard business perspective, and let's face it, that is what the BCCI are all about and the franchise owners are all about. It's all about...
If you're going to buy a cricket team.
Yeah, it's all about the kashish. That's what it's about. And they waited for their opportunity. Or their inflection point, as Edward Norton in The Glass Onion called it. The women's game now is probably at the highest point it's ever been. Women's sport in general is at the highest point it's ever been. And what the BCCI need to do, I think first and foremost, is thank the ECB. I don't think, and this might be ridiculous to say, but without the 100, and people have chastised the 100. Now, it has been massive for the women's game. It's been the gateway to kind of getting here, right? The 100 demonstrated that there is a real appetite for women's cricket, and now as they did when they liked what they liked to see when England invented T20 cricket. They've come in and been like, right, we're going to make this one of the biggest things in the world. And from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, they waited for there to be a demand for it. They wanted to make sure that when they started it, there was real investment around it. And that's what they've got. This is a huge, huge investment. It's a ridiculous amount of money, £462 million. Like 80% of the TV revenue is going to be distributed across the franchises. This is going to only be a good thing, Max. The investment in training, facilities, coaching staff, kind of everything, I hope they do it in the right way and they don't do what the ECB do. And when there's kind of England Ashes test going on, they give them a used pitch at an outground like Bristol.
Yeah, somehow I think they're going to be sharing the Modi Dome, aren't they? The Ahmedabad franchise. And yeah, I mean, you're right. It's massive. It's huge news. It's really good news. I don't think you can discount the 100 in its impact in making the game bigger, but I think you also have to just consider the success of the Indian women's side in recent years as a big factor. You know, they beat England in the Commonwealth Games in the semi-final. It was a huge victory for them, and they've overcome England
Australia as well
recently, beating Australia. You know, no one does that, so that's huge as well. And I think that's also going to be a massive factor.
What I really hope, Max, what I really hope about is that we continue to see the likes of Shafali Verma in the 100. What I really don't want to do is pull the drawbridge up, right? I think it's detrimental to the game. So let's really hope that they continue to provide some of the Indian players into that sport.
No, that is a good point. And actually, I mean, I suppose there's a concern, isn't there? You might end up widening the golfing class, I suppose, between the top players and I guess the kind of the teams, the sort of more domestic squad players that can be the case in certainly a bit. It's a bit of the case in the 100 in the women's game. Would sort of definitely need more opportunities for people to play at the highest level. And the women's IPL should do that. Certainly, I mean, it certainly will for the Indian domestic players. And like you say, you hope that it doesn't lead to, I guess, friction between this and another franchise, because ultimately it's got to be a joint venture, hasn't it? I mean,
I think it's a different partner.
Men's T20 cricket is established enough that the IPL can be like, no, you can't come and play in us, and you can't go and play in the Blast or the 100 or whatever. But in women's cricket, it's got to be a joint thing. Got to have everyone pulling in the same direction to use some business phrases that I don't like, but it's good. I mean, it's a really good bit of news. It's a shame that CSK didn't bid for a team. We should probably
the owner
mention that.
The owner has pretty much said in previous interviews that he doesn't think the women's game is any good.
Interested, yeah.
So yeah,
that's pretty lame. But on the flip side, apparently RCB actually held back investments overseas.
So it's a good bit of advertising, good PR. I think that.
I mean, maybe so, but they don't have
Diageo, who owned them. One of the So again, like there's only so much money to go around. And so
but they don't have an SA20 side, do they? So maybe that's where they.
Not yet. They don't. Not yet. You have to remember that this is only 5 teams, right? Have been auctioned off here. Like, it gives the space to kind of test it, see what happens, what's going to grow, etc. You've seen Lucknow added and the Ahmedabad boys added Gujarat Titans to the IPL this year. So there's always space for this to work out. And so I can imagine those guys won't be too disheartened to miss out this time, as there will be another opportunity in the not too distant future. And I think every single person who has played cricket from a women's perspective at a decent level should register for this auction.
Absolutely.
So there's going to be a proper auction, just like there is in the men's.
Yeah, start early Feb, I think.
First week of Feb. Yeah. Hopefully Hugh Edmeades is going to be on the gavel again.
Yeah.
And again, this is massive. This is again going to be life changing for so many people. And I think Jay Shah obviously tweeted out, but like, this is going to be massive for women coming into the game, etc. Like, you could see, like, it's a millionaire maker, and we know that. but it also raises the standard of the game. Like if you see where T20 cricket was, and probably cricket in general over the last kind of 10 years, 12 years, the IPL has had a major impact on what that looks like. The standard of cricket, the standard of fielding, the analytics that goes into the game. Like there's still loads and loads of progress to make, but where we've come from and where we are now, like the IPL has a big part to play, and I think the women's Premier League,
where there's money, the interest will come.
Exactly.
So.
The women's Premier League is going to be no different. Just unfortunately, it's going to be second to the women's 100, and that's fine. But that's okay. I wonder how many people are going to get my tongue-in-cheek references or just go absolutely mad in the YouTube comments. Either which way,
like and subscribe.
Bring it on.
You can complain to Ross.
Bring it on. You should also, if you're really interested in engaging with us more or want access to data as well as the magazine Scouting Cricket, you should sign up to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/the cricket pod. It's been brilliant. I think we've got loads of people engaged on a daily basis talking about all things cricket, and the data packs that we've kind of secured from one of our dear partners are absolutely brilliant, right? So if you're interested in that part of the game, then sign up. And
they gave us all the information we needed to be completely wrong about MI Cape Town.
Yeah, but that's life, isn't it? Right? You can't put.
It's up to you how you use the data. The data's all there.
Yeah, data's all there, and there's those pieces, right, in terms of what you can say around like it doesn't always, the numbers don't always show what's going to happen, so you can't predict the future. No. Anyway, women's Premier League, it should be called the women's IPL, but never mind.
We'll call it that anyway.
Yeah, we'll call it the women's IPL, and great news, and we look forward to the auction that will take place in early February.
I guess it is kind of good to give it a distinct name, isn't it? Actually,
make
it its own thing.
Yeah, that's what I kind of said. Never mind, like it's one of those things, isn't it? But women's Premier League, women's IPL, who cares? Max, other cricket world news. I think this part, we shouldn't even talk about India and New Zealand at the start of this. We just have to go straight into Shubman Gill.
Right.
This is the player who. Well,
it's the coming of age series.
It is. So you've got people's careers coming to an end, and even though they're having kind of a bit of an uptick, a kind of final hurrah, like Virat Kohli is kind of in a rich vein of form. Rohit Sharma hit his first century for ages, but Shubman Gill has been in a class of his own. He got a double century. 2 other centuries I think he's got, or another century, 380 runs in a series, equaling Babar Azam's record, I think, in that. He's looked impervious. He's looked beautiful watching him play. And in our Discord that I was just mentioning, Sudeep has been his biggest fan since its inception. And sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and go, that was great. He looks the part, doesn't he?
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, that 208 came in a game where no one else in the India side scored.
He did it off the bloody square.
Scored 50. And, it ended up being quite a tight game because Michael Bracewell went absolutely ballistic at the end. But that was, ultimately set India on their way in the series. And then this latest one alongside old man Rohit, showing the new and the old, perhaps dovetailing nicely. But he's obviously been player of the series, and quite deservedly so. But also, I think from an Indian point of view, it's is it a sign that they're really going to be a force in the One Day World Cup this year, or is it B, India doing really well in bilaterals and showing the new way, and then getting to a World Cup, reverting to type?
So they've won 24 out of 27 bilateral series since 2009. In that time, they've secured 1 World Cup? In the ODI World Cup.
Yeah.
In 2011. So you're kind of sitting there going, well, maybe this is the time. England are going to have something to say about that. Australia, I think it's going to be one of the most competitive World Cups, actually. That a lot of the teams have like really, really good makeups. We obviously know that some international teams completely sod up their selection policy, and India might well be one of those teams that have done that because they have historically done it. But having Shubman Gill in this lineup, and I mean, they're not even playing Ishan Kishan. I don't think he played in the last one, but he hasn't played in all of them. They didn't play him after he hit a double century. Like again, we talked about England's embarrassment of riches earlier on. India also have the same. But it's great to see a little bit more intent. All formats, Max, do we think he's going to be a superstar, or do we think T20 maybe not entirely suited to his repertoire?
I don't know. I mean, he has had some good performances in T20. He's a pretty good IPL, but I think India have got better options when it comes to T20. I think one day suits him absolutely beautifully. I think it's the ideal format, and I think he'll probably be a fixture in the Test side going forward as well. He's obviously got bundles of class, and if you want to go down the route of playing slightly more aggressive Test cricket, then he's a great guy to have at the top of the order. So I think I do think this could be sort of where we see the true emergence of Shubman Gill, because he's been touted as hot property for quite some time.
Yeah,
and
last 3 years he's got over 440 runs, so you kind of see it's okay.
Yeah. He's shown it in flashes, but never really put his foot down, and you sort of hope this can be like the catalyst for him to take it forward, because he's in a rich vein of form, and hopefully for him it'll carry on, and it's good for India as well to try and, I guess, move on slightly from the old guard, from perhaps the likes of Rohit. I mean, you say that, and he's just scored 100 alongside Shubman Gill, so maybe that's
there's going to be retirements.
Total nonsense, but he's
it's good. There'll be retirements after the World Cup, right?
Yeah,
you can't see Shikhar Dhawan kind of hanging around, can you? Let's be fair. So Max, big question: is he going to go past 10,000 runs in international cricket?
Shubman Gill.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You're going to put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Sudeep.
Yeah, he is.
Sudeep reckons he's going to be in the top 5 Indian batsmen of all time.
Of all time.
Which is...
What's the bottom of that list?
I have no idea. You'd have to get the stats up, but 10,000 runs is no joke, right? So
no, 10,000. I reckon he can, because I reckon he'll play one days and tests. I mean, are we doing cross format?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what I love about this is the pure fact. If Dan Weston is listening to this podcast, he's like, recency bias.
Absolutely. But he's not listening to this podcast anymore because he's busy with cricket.com. So
Dan listens. Dan listens. Dan, leave a comment in the chat to show you improve your listening. Anyway, so Max, the other bit is that India are now top of the world rankings in ODI cricket. It just shows you that the ODI world rankings are fucking pointless, right? They are naff, but they are definitely one of the favourites, so that's good.
I mean, New Zealand's it's at home, isn't it? Which helps.
Yeah, but to be fair, let's be they are favourites to win it because it is at home. They've got a fantastic squad, but they've just not been able to do it, right? They've not been able to get across the line. And how many Indian fans do we interact with? Where the frustration is there, but the things are falling into place.
Yeah,
and
they just need to pick the right team.
Exactly.
And hope Bumrah's fit.
And well, Mohammed Siraj has gone to the top of the ODI bowling rankings,
and the Lord's back. The Lord's back lording again.
The Lord never left, mate. That's the thing. The Lord works in mysterious ways. You just don't see it. He is there all the time. You just don't see it. Anyway, we're running up to an hour. Steve Smith has hit back-to-back centuries in the Aussie Farmers League, which is a bit of an uptick in kind of crowd attendance and TV attendance, which was Jack's only contribution to this show. He said something detrimental about the women's game, but BBL. Yeah. Did you cover? I didn't listen to last week's podcast because I was on a plane. Did you cover that Steve Smith has joined Sussex?
Yes, we did.
Perfect.
We discussed that we thought it was mental that anyone had a problem with it. And I'm actually looking forward to Steve Smith on the back of his fantastic BBL form coming over and getting nibbled out by someone bowling 70 miles an hour in May. So
happened to Marnus with Darren Stevens, could well happen to Steve Smith. And the only other piece is England under 19s women are absolutely smashing the World Cup over there. They're 7 wins from 7, and they're into the next round.
How many mancads?
Yeah, how many? Questions from our Patreon. Musical ask: what is the likelihood of Joss Butler returning to the Test squad for the Ashes, Max?
I think it's probably quite low. If there are injuries, he could conceivably get in. But I think the realistic thing I see happening wicketkeeper wise is Bairstow being given the gloves over Ben Folkes and having sort of like Brook and Duckett and everyone in there. But there is a chance, but I'd say like 10% if you want to put a number on it.
Okay. Lol1 asks Shardul Thakur or Gary Sobers. Obviously
Shardul Thakur. What kind of a question is that? Oh my God.
And Kartik asked that he would like a summary of the SA20 through my eyes, which I hope I have given you. So Kartik, that one was for you. Thank you ever so much for listening. We hope you've enjoyed it. As we said, we're doing a big push to get some Patreons in because we obviously want to keep this show going, and it costs quite a tidy sum to keep this show going. So thank you to those who already signed up. And if you can't do that, please follow us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and engage with us on there. And subscribe on your YouTube, on your podcast platform, and share with your friends. Thank you. Goodbye.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.